Good morning, class 10. Today we will be studying contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. Agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy, though its share in the gross domestic product has registered a declining trend from 1951 onwards. From the start only, we have depended on agriculture. Most of the workforce is depending on agriculture. So here it is said that the share in gross domestic product, that is the income of the country, has registered a declining trend from 1951 onwards. The share of agriculture in the gross domestic product has been declining since 1951 onwards. So here you can see the composition of national income after independence. In this, agriculture and allied activities has seen a decline since 1951. Before, it was in 1950-51, it was like 55% of the national income has share of agriculture, like 55% agriculture share in national income. In 1980-81, it declined to 41.8% share of agriculture in national income, and in 1990-91, it was 34.9%. So since 1915, we have seen a declining trend of the share of agriculture in national income. Since 1950-51, we have seen a declining trend of agriculture, of the share of agriculture in national income. In 2010-11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector, which makes more than half of the Indian population dependent on the agriculture for sustenance. We have seen that how the share of agriculture is declining in the GDP or the national income, but still, in 2010-11, 52% of the total workforce, of the total labor, was employed by the farm sector only, by the agricultural sector only, and which makes like more than half of the population, Indian population, is dependent on the agriculture for the sustenance for them. The declining share of agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern, because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to a decline in other spheres of the economy, having wider implications for society. So the declining share of agriculture in the national income or in the GDP is a concern for the country, because any decline and stagnation in agriculture, if the agriculture stops developing or stops providing like huge share in the national income, then this will lead to the decline in other spheres only, because most of our population is dependent on, most of our 50% or more than 50% of our population is dependent on agriculture. If the agriculture share in national income declines, what will happen? The income of the people is also declining, the income of the farmers is declining. If the income of the farmers decline, they will not buy the products of the industrial areas, or they won't buy services from the service sector. So it will see a decline in demand also, and if demand decreases, the supply also decreases. So if the share of agriculture keeps on declining or becomes stagnant, then it will lead to a decline in other spheres of the economy also, and it will lead to a wider implication for the society as a whole. Considering the importance of agriculture in India, the Government of India made concerted efforts to modernize agriculture. Seeing the importance of agriculture in India, the Government of India has been doing many efforts to modernize agriculture, to increase the share of agriculture in the national income, or at least to provide more wages, more income to the farmers. Establishment of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, agricultural universities has been set up, veterinary services has been set up, and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast, so that the farmers can get the correct information about the climate, about the weather and about the rain, were given priority for improving Indian culture. These kinds of institutions were given priority for the improvement of Indian agriculture. Apart from this, improving the rural infrastructure was also considered essential for the same, because most of agriculture activities or all of the agricultural activities are taking place in the rural areas only, and if the infrastructure is bad in rural areas, if the rural areas does not have warehouses, if they does not have roads or electricity, warehouses is needed for the storage of the crops or the farm produce. The roads are needed for the transportation of farm produce from one place to the market. Electricity is needed for the irrigation system, for the working of the irrigation system. So rural infrastructure is an important thing, is an important aspect for the increment of the, or for the improving of the agricultural system. From the table 4.1, it is clear, from this table, it is clear that though the GDP growth rate is increasing over the years, that the GDP growth rate is increasing. Now we saw that it was before the COVID, it was like 6%. Here you can see an example. In the start it was like 2.51 or 3.6%, then there was like 4.2%, then it came down to 2.8%. Then in further years it was like 4.8% in 1974-78. Then in 1979-84 the growth rate was 5.7%. In 1985-1990 in India the growth rate was 6%. Then in 8th plan in 1992-97 the growth rate was achieved 6.8%. So we saw that continuously India has been developing, continuously the growth rate has been developing, and it even reached to 8% at one point of time. So the growth rate or GDP growth rate is increasing over the years. It is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. Still, the growth rate of the income of the GDP, the gross domestic product. What is GDP? It is gross domestic product. That what we are producing, the total of what we are producing in a year. The GDP growth rate is increasing, the domestic production is increasing, but it is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. The population is also increasing with that, and with a rapid pace or in higher pace. That's why the employment opportunities lag behind the population. The growth rate in agriculture has been decelerating, which is an alarming situation. I showed you the growth rate in agriculture, it was like 55, then it came down to 16%. So the growth rate in agriculture has been declining in an alarming situation. Today, Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition and reduction in the public investment in agricultural sector. So the Indian farmers are facing a big challenge in the international market. Now the whole of the world is globalized. Every country can sell their produce in the global market. So the Indian farmers and the Indian people can import food grains from, like the India import food grains from outside also. So Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition and reduction in the public investment in agricultural sector. So government investment has reduced in the agricultural sector. The public investment means the government investment. Subsidy on fertilizers is decreased, leading to increase in the cost of production. The subsidy on fertilizers, like the government used to give the subsidy to the fertilizers on the fertilizers, but it has been decreased, leading to increase in the cost of production. As the table 4.1, you can see the growth rate is increasing. The growth rate is increasing, but still it is not creating as much employment opportunities as it should have created. Moreover, reduction in import duties on agricultural products have proved detrimental to the agriculture in India, in the country. So we saw that, I told you that we have been importing agricultural products, we have been importing farm products. So the reduction in import duties, the duties or the tax that the country used to take from the import of agricultural products, like there was like 5% or something tax that was import duty that was collected from on the agricultural products. Like if the product is of 100 rupees, it will be 105 after it come into the country. The import duty will be added to it. So the import duties have been reduced, have been proved detrimental to the agriculture in the country. Farmers are withdrawing their investment from agriculture, causing a downfall in the employment in agriculture. Now the farmers are withdrawing their investment. They have stopped doing investment in agriculture because the agriculture produce are selling very cheaply, and the farmers are not gaining enough income. So it's like useless for them to invest in the agriculture if it is not giving them any profits. Now we will come down to food security. I hope you have understood the contribution of agriculture. It has been a backbone of Indian economy, but the share have been decreased for long. Share in the gross domestic products of agriculture has decreased, and it was declining trend since 1951. The trend was declining since 1951. Still the workforce, more than half of the workforce is still dependent on the agriculture. The declining share of agriculture is not only harmful for the agriculture sector also, but it is harmful for the other sectors also. And the government has took some steps like forming of these types of organizations. After that, we saw that the GDP has been increasing. The GDP has been increasing, but The growth rate is increasing. The GDP, the growth rate of GDP is increasing, but the employment opportunities are not created in huge numbers. That's a problem for the growing population. Now we will come down to food security. You know that food is a basic need and every citizen of the country should have access to food which provides minimum nutritional level. So food is a basic need. Every citizen needs to have a minimum nutritional level. If any segment of our population does not have this access, that segment suffers from lack of food security. If some of the population, if some of the people are not having the enough nutritional level, that is, they are suffering from the food security, the lack of the food security. The number of people who do not have food security is disproportionately large in some regions of our country. Disproportionately, that is by percentage. In some regions they are large, in some regions they are less. So the number of people who do not have food security is disproportionately large in some regions of our country, and in some regions they are less. Particularly in economically less developed states like Bihar, with higher incidence of poverty, where the poverty is more. In economically less developed states, there the food security is less. Food security for the people is less in such kind of states. The remote areas of the country are more prone to natural disasters. The remote or the far off areas of the country are prone to natural disasters and uncertain food supply. Where the natural disasters are coming again and again, there the availability of food becomes a problem, because the government has to provide the food to them. The government has to provide the food through the aeroplanes and all, through the helicopter and all. So the food supply, it becomes problem. The road gets blocked if there is a disaster, so the food supply cannot reach to the prone areas, to the remote areas, as well as the road system is not very developed in some areas also. In order to ensure availability of food to all sections of the society, our government carefully designed a national food security system. So to ensure availability of food to all sections of society, our government, the Indian government, has designed a national food security system. It consists of two components, buffer stock and the public distribution system. Now we will study about these two. As you know, PDS is a program which provides food grains and other essential commodities at subsidized price to below poverty line population in rural and urban areas. You must have seen ration shops in around your area, that is PDS, public distribution system, through which the food grains are provided to and the essential commodities are provided at the subsidized prices as a subsidy to below poverty line population in rural and urban areas, in the village areas as well as town areas. India's food security policy has a primary objective to ensure availability of food grains to the common people at an affordable price. So what is the policy, what is the objective or motive of the food security policy? To provide the food grains to the common people at an affordable price. It has enabled the poor to have access to food. Even the poor now can have food through the PDS system, through the distribution and food security policy system. The focus of the policy is on growth in agricultural production and on fixing the support price for procurement of wheat and rice to maintain their stocks. So what does it do, the policy, food security policy? It focuses on growth in agricultural production and it fixes the support price. Like, even if the farmers are not able to sell in the market, they can directly sell to the government at these support prices. And the government procure or take the wheat and rice on these support prices to maintain the stocks with the government. The Food Corporation of India is responsible for taking and stocking food grains. So this corporation is responsible for taking the food grains from the farmers and stocking it at the given price, at the support price given by the government. Whereas distribution is ensured by public distribution system. So here two systems are involved. The Food Corporation of India collects the grains and the public distribution system distributes the grains. The collection of grains is done from the farmers and a fixed price is given to them, and the PDS distributes the food grains in a fixed price, in a lower price than the market, to the poor people. The FCI procures food grains from the farmers. As I told you, FCI takes the food grains from the farmers at the government announced minimum support price. The government already announced the minimum support price, and on this price the FCI takes the food grains from the farmers who are willing to sell to the FCI. The government used to provide subsidies on agricultural inputs before. What does the government do? The government also provided subsidies to the on agricultural inputs such as fertilizers, power and water. So before, the government used to provide subsidies on these kind of things. These subsidies have now reached unsustainable levels. Now the subsidies have reached unsustainable levels. Now the government are not able to take care of it. Like half of the subsidies means half or some percentage of the price is given by the government, and some percentage of the price is given by the farmer. Like if the fertilizers is of 100 rupees, the 70 rupees will be given by the government and 30 rupees will be given by the farmer. So if the fertilizer is of 100 rupees, the 70 rupees will be given by the government and 30 rupees will be given by the farmer. So this 70 rupees is what? It is subsidy by the government to the farmer, so that all the farmers can buy fertilizers. These subsidies have now reached unsustainable level. The government does not have enough resources to pay for all the fertilizers and all the power and water, and have also led to large scale inefficiencies in the use of these scarce inputs. So now the inputs are scarce, the fertilizers are in fixed amounts, and if the farmers get in such low prices, they sometimes use it inefficiently, use it badly. They used to put so much fertilizers in one field only. So it lead to inefficiency, excessive and imprudent use of fertilizers. There was very much huge use of fertilizers and imprudent without noticing. They just used to throw the fertilizers because it was nearly a very low price. And water has led to waterlogging and salinity and depletion of essential micronutrients in the soil. The water gets saline and the depletion of essential micronutrients in the soil. The soil becomes also very depleted. The fertility reduces. The micronutrients in the soil depletes. The high MSP, the high minimum support price, subsidies in input and committed FCI purchases have distorted the cropping pattern. If the MSP is high, the farmers will produce rice only. Like if MSP is high on rice, they will try to produce rice on all the seasons. So this has distorted the cropping pattern. Wheat and paddy crops are being grown more for the MSP, because wheat and paddy crops get more MSP, minimum support price. That's why they have been grown more. Punjab and Haryana are foremost example. Punjab and Haryana have started growing rice in huge quantities. This has also created a serious imbalance. They are not doing proper cropping pattern. That's why this has led to serious imbalance in intercrop parities. You already know that the consumers are divided into two categories. We know that the consumers are divided into two categories: below poverty line and above poverty line, with the issue price being different for each category. Like BPL gets a different price and APL gets different price. However, this categorization is not perfect, and a number of deserving poor have been excluded from the BPL category. But this category is not perfect. Some of the poor are being kept in the APL category. Moreover, some of the so-called APL slip back to BPL because of the failure of even one crop, and it is administratively difficult to accommodate such shifts. Like due to some inefficiency by the officials, the APL has come down to the BPL category. Like the APL, if a person is earning 50,000 or if a person is earning 25,000, it still is kept in the BPL category due to some inefficiency or not checking the documents properly by the officials. Each district and block can be made self-sufficient in food grain production if government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, credit linkages, and also encourages the use of latest techniques instead of concentrating only on rice and wheat. If each district and the block can be made self-sufficient in food grain production, if government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, if government gives the proper agricultural infrastructure, proper power, proper water, the credit linkages, and provides the credit, the loans, and encourages the use of latest technology, modern inputs, then all the districts and the blocks can be made self-sufficient in food grain. Instead of concentrating only on rice or wheat, the food crop with a better growth potential in that particular area must be encouraged. So instead of just focusing on rice and wheat, they should focus on different crops in different areas. Like if Odisha can produce one crop better, that crop should be focused on in Odisha. If Madhya Pradesh can produce a crop better, the crop should be focused on Madhya Pradesh, which is grown better in Madhya Pradesh. So creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity, etc. may also attract private investment in agriculture. So maybe big industries or small industries might get interest investing in agriculture if the infrastructure is better. The focus on increasing food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, and also free trade in grains will create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. If the agriculture is developed, then it will create massive employment, because most of the people are already employed in agriculture and they are getting out of agriculture because now there is no profit. So such development should be done in the agriculture sector, that the people get employment and get profits also in the agriculture sector. This will reduce poverty in the rural areas. There has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oilseeds and industrial crops. So there has been a slow shift from the cultivation of food crops. We were producing food crops before, but now it has shifted to the cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oilseeds and industrial crops. This has led to the reduction in net sown area under cereals and pulses. So the sown area under the cereals and pulses have reduced. With the growing population of India, as the population of India is growing, the declining food production puts a big question mark over the country's future food security. How will the country gain the food grains? How will the country achieve the food production if the percentage of the food crops keeps on declining? The competition for land between non-agricultural uses such as housing, etc. and the agriculture has resulted in reduction in the net sown area. As the urbanization is increasing, as the industrialization is increasing, the land has been moved toward the industrialization or the urbanization, and the area under the agriculture has been reduced. The net sown area has been reduced. The productivity of land has started showing a declining trend, and when we use so much of fertilizers, so much of chemicals, so much of pesticides, of course the productivity or the fertility of the land will decline. Fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides, which once showed dramatic results, are now being held responsible for degrading the soils. During the Green Revolution, the fertilizers and the pesticides showed huge result. The production increased multitude, but now they are the reason that is responsible for the degrading of the soil, because they have been used in such huge quantities. Periodic scarcity of water has led to reduction in area under irrigation. Due to the scarcity of water, the area under the irrigation has reduced. Inefficient water management has led to water logging and salinity. See what happens, that if water is not managed, in some areas water becomes standstill. It starts logging in that area and it becomes saline, it becomes salty, which cannot be used for the consumption later on. Before moving forward, let's understand the meaning of the words waterlogging and salinity. So what happens that when the soil is so wet, like if we put so much water in the soil during irrigation, soil gets very wet and there is so much water in the pores of the soil. Like in the pores, there are pores of the soil. These are the pores of the soil, and water gets stuck in these pores so that the air cannot move from the soil. In the soil, it cannot go inside or it cannot go outside. That's why the roots of the plants cannot respire now. Okay, so that there is insufficient oxygen in the pores of the air couldn't pass, so plant roots are not able to respire. So this is waterlogging. That what happens, that the soil is so wet or there is so much water in the pores of soil that there is insufficient oxygen in the pores or the air couldn't pass through the pores. So plant roots are not able to respire or breathe. The next is salinity. Salinity, we all know the salinity means salt. Salinity from irrigation, how does the inefficient or bad water management can lead to salinity? See, almost all water have some dissolved salts. Okay, even the natural rainwater have some dissolved salts. So plants use all the water and the salts are left behind on the soil, and it accumulates or it gets stored on the soil only. The water is used up, the water gets used up and only the salt is left. And the salt left on the soil reduces the fertility of the soil. Left on the soil reduces the fertility of the soil. Okay, so this is what the waterlogging and salinity. If we don't manage the water properly, if we put so much water in the fields also, in the soil also, that's also not good. It leads to waterlogging, that is the pores get filled with the water so much and soil becomes very wet. And the salinity, if the salts get on accumulated, it keeps on accumulating. One important reason is land degradation. The land is getting degraded. We saw that how soil is getting, like, the fertility of the soil is degrading, as well as the land is also degrading. Free power to a section of farmers has encouraged them to pump groundwater to grow water intensive crops in low rainfall areas. So free power, like I told you that government was subsidizing the power, it was subsidizing the water, as well as the government was subsidizing the fertilizers. So in some areas, free power to a section of farmers, to a group or a community of farmers, has encouraged them to pump groundwater. They are pumping or taking the groundwater to grow water intensive crops, the crops that uses more water. Okay, intensive means that whatever it uses more. If it is capital intensive, that means it uses machinery more. If it's labor intensive, it uses labor more. If it is water intensive, that is the crops are using water more. In low rainfall areas, rice in Punjab, I told you that rice are grown in high rainfall areas, but in Punjab the rainfall is not very high. Still, rice is grown there through the pumping of water from the groundwater. Sugarcane in Maharashtra, this unsustainable pumping has reduced water storage in aquifers. So this unsustainable or continuous pumping has reduced the water storage, especially the groundwater. Consequently, many wells and tube wells have run dry, resulting many wells and tube wells have gone dry. This has pushed the marginal and small farmers out of cultivation. Due to this, many of the small farmers and the marginal farmers, very small farmers, were out of cultivation, that cannot use machinery for more water, for pumping more water. The big farmers with deeper tube wells still have water. So with deeper tube wells, with higher level of technology, with higher machinery, they are still able to get water. But many others face a water crisis. But still many are facing a water crisis. Inadequate storage and marketing facilities also act as a disincentive to the farmer. As I told you that the warehousing is not possible for the small farmers. Like they can't keep large warehouses to store their products. So inadequate or insufficient storage and marketing facilities, the markets are also very far away from the rural place. So this acts as a disincentive to the farmer. Thus, farmers are badly affected by the uncertainties of production and market. They are affected by the uncertainties. Like sometimes the prices goes very high, sometimes it goes very low. So the market is very uncertain. They suffer from a double disadvantage as they pay high prices for the inputs such as high yielding variety seeds, fertilizers, etc., but lack the bargaining power to fix prices in their favor. So they pay high prices for the modern inputs, they pay high prices for the high yielding variety of seeds and the fertilizers because they are trading with big industries. But when it comes to their selling of the farm produce, they lack the bargaining power. They do not have much bargaining power. And due to that, the traders take their farms or the produce in low prices. All the production reaches the market simultaneously. All the production, like a particular crop is grown in a particular period only, like the Rabi crop will be grown in that season only, so it will reach the market simultaneously in one go. The higher the supply, the lower is the demand. Now if all the farmers will provide the produce at one time only, so the supply will be very high and the demand will not be that much high. Like we say na, season fruit, this is a season fruit, that is, it is grown in that particular season, and that's why the supply is very high while the demand does not increase much. This causes distressed sale. That is sale in a very distress or bad condition where the prices are very low. Now why don't they just keep the supply with themselves and sell when the prices is high? Because they don't have storage. The farmers do not have storage or warehouses. Therefore, there can be no food security without the security of the small farmers. So if the small farmers start leaving the farming and they start leaving the agriculture, So there will be no food security if we don't secure the small farmers, if we don't provide resources to the small farmers. So here, what did we study? We studied that how the contribution, what is the contribution of agriculture to the national economy and employment and output. Then we studied the food security. In food security, there was two concepts or two components. One was buffer stock and the other was PDS. PDS, I hope you all understand, because we study it in day-to-day life. We see it in day-to-day life that in every place there is ration shop. In every area there is a ration shop. So you have seen PDS system through yourself only. You have experienced it. You must have experienced it. Someone in your family or someone in your neighbor must have gone to the ration shops to collect ration or to collect grains. So PDS is the public distribution system where the public gets the grains, food grains or the essential commodities. Like before, they also provided gas or oil, and they also provided sugar. Now they are mostly providing the grains only, rice, wheat and some of the pulses. Okay, so I think you all understand the PDS system. We will study the buffer stock. Okay, I will tell you the definition of buffer stock. Buffer stock is a system or scheme which buys and stores stocks at times of good harvest. So in buffer stock, what do the government do? Or FCI, as we studied, the FCI has the responsibility to procure or to take the food grain. So what does the FCI do? In the period of good harvest, in the period of good harvest, when the harvest is very good, when the production is very good, the FCI or Food Corporation of India procures or take the extra production and it keeps it in a warehouse or storage. And when the harvest is not very good, in the next season maybe the harvest is not good, or in the next year maybe the harvest is not good, then it takes the harvest out. Then it takes the stored food grains out and sell it or brought it in the market, so that the prices do not rise in the bad harvest period. Okay. So FCI has the buffer stock, is the stock of the food grains, and the PDS is the distribution of the food grains. So Food Corporation of India is responsible for procuring and stocking food grains. It takes or buys the food grains from the farmers and then it stocks the food grains in the warehouse or the storage, whereas distribution is ensured by public distribution system. And whatever the Food Corporation of India procures or brings and stocks, that's the food grains that the PDS would be able to provide to the common people. Because where will the PDS system will get the food grains? It will get the food grains whatever the Food Corporation of India is procuring. So Food Corporation of India is procuring food grain for the PDS system as well as for like future when the harvest will be bad, so that it can provide the food grains at that time also. And when we saw that in Odisha there was a flood, in Uttarakhand in some years before there was a very big earthquake, so at that time also government of India provided food grains to and supplied food grains or the food to the disaster areas. So from where the government got the food? From the stocks only that the FCI procured in the previous years. So the Food Corporation of India has the responsibility of the procuring and stocking of food grains, and these food grains are used to provide the common people through the PDS system. The PDS system provides these food grains that are procured by the Food Corporation of India to the common people. And the Food Corporation of India also keeps the stocks for the disaster period or the period when the harvest is bad. Another important concept that we studied in this was MSP. MSP is the minimum support price that the farmers get for some particular food crops. Like the wheat and rice prices are set by the government. It is not that the farmers have to sell to the government only. They can sell in the market, and whatever, like the MSP is 20 rupees. Let's say the MSP minimum support price is 20 rupees and the market is providing 30 rupees. So the farmers will sell in the market only. But if the market is providing 15 rupees, then the farmers will give the production to the government, because government is providing 20 MSP. Okay, the government is providing 20 rupees. So wherever the farmer finds more profit, the farmer can sell in that place. It can sell to the government also, and it can sell to the market also. So this is the concept of MSP.